On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. He brings us up to speed on practical solutions towards eradicating unemployment in the country, while also sharing his thoughts as Nigeria transitions between governments. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
A lot is happening in Nigeria at the moment, and we know that when we talk about labor, we talk about the organized private sector, and we talk about government as well. Recently, a disturbing report was released that more than 40% of the population are unemployed. What would be NECA's reaction to this development?
Well, this is quite worrisome. More so when we look at the strata of that population that is mostly hit, which is the young population. And the first question is, will it have been different? Looking at the parameters and the elements that made that figure to be so. If the quantum of the list or the volume of unemployment is going down, then there must be parameters that are driving it. And at the same time, if the unemployment rate is going up, it's also definitive that there are some parameters or elements that are driving it. And looking at the context of now, realize all parameters seems to be driving or fueling unemployment. So those issues, those parameters are everywhere for us to see. The industry are not working at a full capacity utilization. If you go to the far north, the level of deindustrialization that has happened in those areas, they also contribute to the quantum of unemployment. Because of those issues of this industrialization fueled by insecurity, you realize that at that axis, most industry have either closed down, migrated back to the more safer climes, or actually leave the country. So those are factors that you find that probably will have contributed to it. And the recent past, our recent challenges.
That takes us to the next question, which has to do with economic policies in the country. As a representative of the organized private sector, would you say that we have friendly economic policies? Because we know that there are different employers of labor, but we know that organized private sector actually represents the large chunk of employers in the country.
Well, it is it's a complex question you've asked, because in certain instances you see the policies actually pro-growth, and in the same breath you have elements in the government or some other agencies in the government contradicting those policies. So the contradictions sometimes seems to negate the policy that we have. You have a government agency or ministry coming up with policies that promotes employment generation. And at the same time, you have other agencies of government creating bottlenecks for organized businesses that are supposed to generate employment. So as one agency of government is doing its bit to promote ease of doing business, you have within the same system some other agencies that are also creating bottlenecks for organized businesses. So fundamentally, while government is trying its best to make the environment hospitable for organized businesses, I think the inherent contradictions in that same system is what government has not been able to deal with. And we can see those contradictions everywhere.
Looking at the current challenge that Nigerians are faced with, you want to ask, because of the multiple inflations that Nigerians have been experiencing, you want to look at what is the pay even at the workplace. We know the minimum wage is supposed to be the minimum standard, but we can say that inflation has eroded whatever benefit that the minimum wage would have to offer. What is the organized private business doing to ensure that for those that are even working, they are actually earning a decent wage?
At the private sector level, the narration is a bit different. even far beyond or before the 30,000 minimum wage was arrived at 4 years ago. Organized private sector, we actually paying above the 30,000 minimum wage, and because via the instrumentality of collective bargaining, salary increases every month through performance appraisals, consistently, and also the instrumentality of collective bargaining, the private sector has consistently been doing a bit, as much as it can do within the context of its limitation, in increasing salary, in coming up with schemes, employee welfare schemes. While it's not the same in the public sector for reasons best known to government, but in the private sector we've done quite a bit. Now, inflation, as you mentioned, has eroded the purchasing power of all Nigerians. And the same way it has eroded the purchasing power of Nigerians, it has also created a lot of challenges for businesses themselves. But we must commend the resilience and the doggedness of an average Nigerian business for them to be able to consistently focus on employee welfare and also consistently promote issues that has to do with employee, even at the risk sometimes of their own existence. So at the private sector, I think we are doing well. There's room for improvement, but as the environment improves, as the business environment continues to become more hospitable, and businesses can actually focus on competitiveness, because now most organizations are already focused on sustainability. If you are not sustainable, then you can't be competitive. So once we cross the threshold of sustainability, where we can only give as much as you have, and we move to the realm of competitiveness, then you can start looking at all other issues that can keep your business grounded and also do much more as you wish you can do concerning employee welfare.
Talking about low industrialization and limited investment by private sector, what would you say is mitigating these developments that probably we should be seeing in the industry at the moment?
For a rational investor, for you to invest, or for you to invest more, you look at some parameters. One, is the environment hospitable for you to invest? A local investor or a foreign investor, we also look at how easy is it for you to repatriate my money. Now we have an issue where some foreign airlines have over $700 million trapped in Nigeria because they couldn't take away their cash. We have issues of insecurity. An investor will also look at the security. Is it safe for me to invest? If your answers to those questions are not positive, then you will consider investing, because the environment seems to be of high risk. And in that instance, because an investor will always want to invest, he probably will take his money to another client, which is part of the challenges that we're having. We have an unresolved issue concerning the security. Government has done a lot, but there's still much more to be done. We have issue of the environment, the fiscal and monetary policy, which are sometimes also contradictory, not alignment between those two policies. So an investor will look at how stable the environment is. If it's not stable, then I will likely not take the risk. So those that have come in to invest, we also want to commend their doggedness and their resilience. And those that are already invested here, that have invested money here, we also want to commend their staying power. Some said it takes, you must be unusual to run business in this environment. And sometimes we tend to agree because of the myriads, the multi-dimensional, let me use the word of government, the multi-dimensional challenges that you face as an enterprise.
4 to 5 million new entrants of people, young persons that would like to move to the job market, and there are no jobs to accommodate these young minds. What do you think would be the solution in terms of reducing unemployment in the country? And would you say that small, medium-scale enterprises could be the way out to cushion this effect?
The SMEs and MSMEs are part of the ways. Now, this conversation is we'll look at it from this perspective. You cannot control the supply side, because we have, we've lost count of how many universities we have now. So you cannot control the supply side. You cannot close the universities and say, okay, let's close for 2 or 3 years and nobody should graduate. You can't do that. So as much as you can't control the supply side, then you can do enough to make sure that the demand pipe is wider. And in that context, I mean, you must make sure that the industries, the businesses, they keep expanding, they are sustainable, they are expanding, so that they can assimilate as many as is possible from those that are coming. Now, the second thing you have to do is industries that have closed shop. Those areas, the northern area, northwest, northeast that we mentioned, we also make sure that we revive the businesses in those areas. Sectors that are moribund, like textile, those are sectors that can employ huge number of Nigerians. You deal with that. Then you now focus on issue of entrepreneurship. Rather than everybody looking for a job, let's create a structured system, a structured technical and vocational skills system that is aligned to our national development plan and also focus. So when graduates or youths go through the system, their focus is not looking for jobs. They are more inclined toward entrepreneurship. So they migrate to the MSME platform, migrate to the SME platform, and we create definitive support for that group so that they can grow. You know, if you have 1,000 SMEs that employs 2 individuals, you have taken 2,000, you have taken 4,000 youths out of the job market. So there are definitive plans that we have to have, but if we look at it the way government sometimes look at it, you look at it from thinking you throw money to every problem that comes. You know, so you can't throw money to every policy problems. You have to sit down, look at the whole project, the whole problem holistically, and then you deal with them in such a way that the solution to one have consequential positive effect on others. You know, that is the way to go. It is not rocket science. It has been done in many countries, and there's no reason why we shouldn't do that.
We also have the Asians coming into the markets, and they have a way of doing business which is which is quite more palatable to us. They have a way of doing businesses that people would definitely go for their products. On the organized private sector side, do you think there's a policy that needs to be put in place for a healthy balance and competition? Because we also have Nigerians that are working with other multinationals or other companies that are not Asian.
You know, the first thing we have to get right is our economic philosophy. You must get that right. If you don't get it right, then you accept every kind of philosophy that comes. You accept everybody in your quest for revenue generation, then you'll be exposed to different kind of loan apps. Because you are desperate for cash, then you get yourself sunk into most of those apps without really digging deep into the consequences of those apps. And that is what is happening to us. We've allowed so many kind of businesses to come in, those that came purposely to promote and help us to grow, and those that came in fundamentally because they want to exploit the weaknesses that they've seen in our regulatory environment. And as you said, they have a way of doing their business that seems to be comfortable for us because of our peculiar situation, which is quite unfortunate. Because on the long run, in the short run, yeah, everybody is fine, everybody is okay. But in the long run, it creates a lot of disruption, a lot of damage to the economy, which we believe the regulatory authorities should focus more on. It goes beyond, and we have canvassed it severally, you know, it goes beyond one policy. It goes beyond one action. We must be deliberate in analyzing what is the consequences of this action. The Naira policy you mentioned, good policy, but on the long run, we were excluding those that we plan to include.
Finally, we're in the transitioning period. There's a president-elect. What would be your expectation from the incoming government?
You know, I think we've said it once or twice that you know, the incoming government seems to be very fortunate.
Not unfortunate.
Very fortunate. I believe strongly they understand the multidimensional problems that we have. It will be unfortunate if, as of today, they don't have, or if they don't have a road plan on how to deal with those problems. The margin for cherry picking, or the margin for error, is almost tending to zero. We all know we have revenue problems. They must understand how to deal with revenue problems. We have oil theft issues. They must have fashioned out what is the best security measure to contain oil theft. We have foreign direct investments that is thinning out. They must have come up with a policy to address how to bring back foreign direct investments. Our foreign reserve is going down. They must have asked strategies, how do we deal with this? And the good thing is, you know, most of these things are not rocket science. We have countries in the world that have done it. We have countries that have been in a worse situation, and they navigated themselves a way out of those quagmires. Then how exactly have they done it? And I said, it's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. So the solution to deal with all these issues, they are with us. They just need the political will to deal with this issue. And I said, the margin for error, the margin for give us 1 year, give us 2 years, give us 3 years, the real margin is very slim. So they must come in and hit the ground running.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijasan. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.